The Vastari Collective ruled half the galaxy. Their warships were fast, deadly, and numbered in the thousands. No species dared to challenge them anymore. On the edge of the Orion Belt, above the smoking remains of planet Arion 6, 300 Vastari ships floated in cold formation. They had just finished destroying another colony. The skies were quiet. Inside the flagship of the Vastari fleet, the Vengeance of Stars, Commander Xelthar stood tall. He had blue-scaled skin, burning red eyes, and wore a long black coat lined with metals. He looked down at his officers with pride. "We have conquered 12 planets this month," he said. "There is no one left to fear us now." Suddenly, a soft alarm began to beep. Everyone looked at the main screen. "Commander," said the communication officer, looking surprised, "we have a signal." One hyperspace jump detected. Xelthar raised an eyebrow. "A signal? Who would be foolish enough to jump into this sector?" The officer checked again. "It's human. A single human warship just arrived." The room fell silent. For a few moments, no one said a word. "Are you sure?" Xelthar asked, now serious. "Yes, sir. One Turan ship, no escort, no support. It's old, maybe 100 years. We are scanning weak weapons and a small energy core." Xelthar laughed. It was a deep, sharp laugh that made younger officers shiver. Humans, always brave, always stupid. "Shall we send the fleet, sir?" "No need," Xelthar said. "Send only 3 cruisers. This is not even a battle. It's a message." The 3 Vastari cruisers separated from the main fleet and moved toward the incoming ship. Then the human ship dropped out of hyperspace. It was small compared to the Vastari ships, shaped like a blade with 2 curved wings. Its hull was black, with parts of it scarred from old battles. No lights flashed. No signals came. It simply floated there, silent. But one word was painted across its side in faded white letters. VALKYRI. Inside, Commander Elise Work sat in the pilot's seat. She was in her mid-30s, with short dark hair and calm eyes. Her uniform was simple. Her ship was quiet. "Enemy ships approaching," said the ship's AI in a smooth voice. 3 heavy cruisers. Weapon systems locked. "Shall I raise shields?" Elise didn't answer right away. Her fingers hovered over the console. She stared at the screen, watching the enemy ships grow closer. "No," she said softly. "Let them come." The AI paused. "Tactical analysis suggests high risk of destruction if we do not raise defenses." "I know, but this isn't a battle. It's a demonstration." The Vastari cruisers surrounded the Valkyrie, staying just out of range. They fired their first volley of plasma torpedoes, bright green and fast. But just before the torpedoes hit, the Valkyrie disappeared. On the Vastari ships, sensors went dark for 1 second, then screamed in warning. From nowhere, the first Vastari cruiser exploded. A sharp blade of light had cut through its hull from above, slicing it in 2. The second cruiser turned to respond, but something slammed into its side with impossible speed. The ship broke apart, as if hit by a giant hammer. The third cruiser tried to run. Too late. The Valkyrie appeared behind it, flying low and silent. A line of small projectiles shot from its front guns, glowing silver. They punched through the shields and ripped through the engine core. The cruiser vanished in a ball of fire. Back on the Vengeance of Stars, Commander Xelthar stared at the destruction on the main screen. His officers were frozen. 3 ships gone in under 30 seconds, whispered the lieutenant. "How is that possible?" "I want answers," Xelthar said sharply. "What kind of stealth tech is this? How can an old ship do that?" Another officer whispered, "Is it really old? Or is it something else?" Xelthar didn't speak. He watched the Valkyrie as it slowly turned toward the Vastari fleet, still alone, still silent. "Send no more ships," Xelthar said finally. "Not yet. I want to know who commands that vessel." Inside the Valkyrie, Elise leaned back in her seat. She closed her eyes. Status: all enemy targets destroyed, replied the AI. They are now watching. Good, she said. Then let them watch. This is only the beginning. The stars around her glowed. The war had just started. Suddenly, a voice echoed from behind her. You're not going anywhere. Elise spun, her hand instinctively going for her sidearm. Standing in the doorway was a familiar figure, tall, armored, and cold-eyed. It was a Korth officer, one Elise had fought before, a lifetime ago. The officer smiled. Did you really think you could resurrect the past and leave us out of it? Elise's eyes narrowed. I never planned to leave you behind. Behind the officer, more Korth soldiers emerged from the shadows, weapons raised. You'll have to kill me first, Elise said with a steely resolve. The Artemis device hummed louder. Time was running out. Outside, the Vasteri fleet was preparing for another assault, but it wasn't the only one coming. The Korth Syndicate's ships began to descend from the sky, each one a blade cutting through the dark expanse of space. The battle for the Valkyrie had only just begun. Aliens saw a single human warship. What happened next shocked them. Part 5. The Final Stand. The Artemis device hummed louder, its core pulsing with dangerous energy. Elise stood poised, her sidearm aimed at the Korth officer, who was now surrounded by his soldiers. Tension crackled in the room, the weight of an ancient grudge hanging in the air. You really think you can threaten me with this old toy? The Korth officer sneered, his eyes cold and calculating. The war is over. Humanity is dead. Elise's hand tightened around the grip of her gun. You never understood, did you? The war was never about survival. It was about remembering who we are. The Korth soldiers raised their weapons, and in that moment, everything seemed to freeze. Elise could hear the hum of the Artemis device behind her, slowly growing in intensity. The energy was building. I don't need to survive, she said, voice steady. I just need to make sure you never forget. Without warning, she fired. The shot rang out, striking the nearest Korth soldier in the chest. The others reacted instantly, but Elise was faster. She dove behind a console, rolling out of the way as the first barrage of fire tore through the air. The room erupted into chaos. The Korth officer barked commands, his soldiers fanning out, trying to encircle her. But Elise was a seasoned fighter. She moved with precision, firing carefully, taking down one soldier after another. Each shot was calculated. The Artemis device pulsed louder, like it was echoing the very rhythm of her heart. Meanwhile, outside, the first wave of Korth ships entered the atmosphere. They were sleek and deadly, moving with the precision of a predator closing in on its prey. The vast Vasteri fleet lingered, still regrouping, preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the Valkyrie. But the Valkyrie wasn't just a warship, it was a symbol, and Elise wasn't just a commander. She was humanity's last testament. A Korth soldier lunged at her, but she sidestepped, using his momentum against him to send him crashing into the console. Her gun flashed once more, silencing the last of his comrades. Only the officer remained. He stood motionless, eyes locking with hers. You think this changes anything? He said, his voice dripping with contempt. You're still alone. And when we finish here, the galaxy will forget your name. Elise's gaze was unwavering. You've always underestimated us. The human spirit can't be erased. We come back, and we win. The Korth officer snarled and charged. But as he did, the Artemis device reached its apex. The core released a bright, blinding light that enveloped the entire room. Elise felt the power surge through the air. She moved just in time as the light expanded, vaporizing the officer in an instant. The Artemis had activated. The ground beneath them trembled. The room shook violently as energy from the Artemis device rushed outward, spreading through the entire facility. Outside, the Korth ships in orbit suddenly lost control, their engines sputtering and failing. They were pulled towards the gravitational anomaly caused by the device, like insects caught in a spider's web. For a moment, everything stopped. Then, the final shockwave hit. The Artemis device sent a pulse that shattered the facility, cracking the ice beneath Sigma Outpost 9. The ground split open as the entire base began to collapse in on itself. Elise dove for cover, bracing herself for the impact. When the tremors stopped, the outpost was gone. Only the faintest remnants of its existence remained, frozen and scattered. Elise's chest heaved as she rose to her feet. Her mission wasn't over, but for now, she had succeeded. The Valkyrie was still intact, and the weapon was no longer in the hands of those who would use it to destroy humanity. But the galaxy wasn't done with her yet. In the cold void of space, the last remnants of the Korth Syndicate fleet hung in a disarray of debris. The once proud warships were now little more than lifeless husks drifting through the black. The Valkyrie was already moving. It had to. Elise stood at the helm, watching the wreckage of the Korth ships fade into the distance. "They won't stop coming," she said softly, her voice tired but resolute. The A's voice responded, "Correct. The Vastari will be next. Then others." "I know," Elise replied, "but they've all forgotten one thing." "And what is that, Commander?" the AI asked. Elise smiled, her gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "They think they're the hunters, but we've always been the ones who fight back. And this time, they won't have a chance." She gave the command to jump to hyperspace, and the Valkyrie vanished into the infinite night, leaving behind a shattered enemy and a galaxy on the brink of chaos. But the war had only just begun. The Valkyrie would rise again, and humanity would return. And the galaxy would remember. The Valkyrie's engines hummed as it surged through hyperspace, escaping the wreckage of Sigma Outpost 9. But Elise couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was shifting. The Korth Syndicate, the Vastari, and a dozen other factions were starting to take notice of the human warship. And they weren't just after its power. They were after the secret that Elise carried with her. The singularity cannon. The Artemis device had only been a warning shot, but now, the true weapon of mass destruction was in her hands. And the factions knew it. Elise had to make sure they never got their hands on it. But there was no place to hide. The Valkyrie broke out of hyperspace near an ancient nebula. Its haunting beauty was a cover for something far darker. An abandoned station where humans once held sway over the stars. Now it was silent, waiting. Elise stood at the observation deck, staring out into the swirling colors of the nebula. The station was an old military stronghold, and it was the last known location of a key piece of technology that could tip the balance in the war. She was about to make a deal with an old ally, someone who might hold the key to humanity's survival. Suddenly, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Commander, incoming transmission." Elise turned, narrowing her eyes. "Who is it?" "It's the Syndicate," the AI responded, its voice unusually urgent. "They're offering terms." Elise's heart sank. She knew what that meant. The Syndicate wasn't interested in peace. They never were. They were simply giving her an ultimatum. The transmission crackled to life on the screen before her. The figure on the other side was a familiar face. Corinth, a leader of the Korth Syndicate. "You can't outrun us forever, human." Corinth's voice was smooth and calculated. "We know you have the singularity cannon. We know what it can do. And we know the Artemis device is only the beginning." Aliens saw a single human warship. What happened next shocked them. Part 3. Old enemies, new watchers. The Valkyrie hovered in deep space, surrounded by debris and drifting remains of Vastari warships. But now something new was entering the system. Inside the cockpit, Elise stared at the screen. "Show me the new ships," she said calmly. The display lit up with moving red dots, 14 in total. They were long, sharp, and metallic. Their engines glowed blue-green. Their hulls were shaped like blades. "Unknown design," the AI said. "Not Vastari. Not human. They are observing from the edge of the gravity well. Passive mode. No weapons locked. Elise narrowed her eyes. That's not random. They were waiting for us to engage. The AI replied, probability of strategic monitoring, 94%. On the bridge of one of the unknown ships, a tall insectoid figure stood beside a holographic screen. Its body was sleek and armored, its 6 eyes glowing faintly. The humans have returned, it hissed in its own language. One ship, ancient, but dangerous. Another creature leaned in. They said humanity was gone, crushed. What is this? The first one responded, a relic, but alive. And it just destroyed a Vasteri fleet. Back on the Valkyrie, Elise kept watching the motionless strangers. Do you recognize them? The AI responded, based on engine trails and signal pulses, they resemble the Korth Syndicate, last seen in the burning Spiral War, one of the first to betray Earth. Elise leaned back in her seat. So they came to see the ruins of their old enemy, and instead found us. She reached out and tapped a switch. A short-range signal pulse was sent, silent but deliberate. Not a threat, not a greeting, just one message. I see you. The 14 ships didn't move, but their sensors changed. They were now focused on the Valkyrie, scanning every inch of it. And then one of them replied. On the Valkyrie's screen, a line of glowing alien text appeared. The AI translated instantly. We thought your kind were extinct, yet here you are. One ghost in a rusted coffin. Elise smiled coldly. Ghosts don't bleed. We do. And we remember everything. She tapped her console. Play memory log Alpha Delta 22. The ship's interior dimmed. A video projection flickered into view, recorded footage from 90 years ago. It showed a Terran city burning, a Korth cruiser hovering above it, people screaming, soldiers begging for help. The feed ended. Then Elise typed a single reply. We didn't forget what you did. Silence. No reply came for over a minute. Then all 14 Korth ships suddenly turned and vanished into hyperspace. No weapons fired. No words spoken. Elise exhaled slowly. They were testing us, she muttered. Testing response time, capability, memory records, the AI confirmed, and fear threshold. They didn't expect a human to still be angry. She stood up and walked to the side window. Out there, a few Vasteri ships remained. Too far to fight, too afraid to move. And yet the real danger wasn't them. It was what was coming. The AI spoke again. I am receiving intercepted transmissions. Vasteri Command is sending a message to the entire galactic sector. Play it. A deep voice echoed through the cabin. It was High Warlord traffic. This is a warning to all species. A Terran warship has returned to active combat. It possesses forbidden technology and has attacked our fleet unprovoked. Any who support it will be considered enemies of the Vasteri Collective. Elise tilted her head. They're calling us a terrorist now. The AI added, they are offering a bounty. 10 million credits to any fleet that can destroy the Valkyrie. Elise chuckled. Good. Let them come. We've been waiting. She sat down again. Set course for Sigma Outpost 9. There's something buried there we'll need. Coordinates locked. Travel time, 11 hours. Do you wish to cloak? No, she said firmly. Let them see me coming. Far behind her, across the stars, dozens of species were now watching. Some remembered Earth's final stand. Others had betrayed humans during the fall. Many thought the story of humanity was over. But now, a single ship had returned, and it was rewriting everything. The Valkyrie jumped into hyperspace. The galaxy braced for what came next. The protocol was a game-changer, Sharif continued. But it's not enough. The Korth are just one faction. There are others, more powerful, and they're coming. The Vasteri, the Scythian hordes. Each one is ready to finish what they started. Elisa's eyes narrowed. She had always known the war wasn't over. But hearing it from Sharif only made the reality more pressing. So what do we do now? Elise asked. Sharif's gaze was intense. We fight. We unite humanity, rebuild our fleets, and take the fight to them before they have the chance to finish us. It's time to show them that Earth may have fallen, but humanity is far from finished. Elise stood tall, the weight of leadership heavy on her shoulders, but she had already made her decision. We fight, she said firmly. We fight for our future, for humanity, and we will never back down. Dr. Novak's voice rang out, steady and determined. We're ready. The Valkyrie's engines hummed louder as Elise gave the command. The ship's systems activated, and the crew rallied to their positions. The human fleet, now forged from the ashes of their fallen comrades, was ready. Humanity had always fought for survival. And now, they were ready to fight for their future. As the Valkyrie soared into the stars once more, Elise knew that the true battle was just beginning. The galaxy would not be the same after this war, and humanity would never be forgotten. Aliens saw a single human warship. What happened next shocked them. Part 2. The Ghost of Old Earth. The Vasteri fleet remained in formation above Arion 6, but now they watched the lone human ship with caution. The Valkyrie wasn't moving. It hovered silently in the dark, almost like it was waiting. Inside the Vasteri flagship, Commander Xelthar stood with his arms behind his back. His red eyes stared at the screen. Is it broadcasting any signals? No, Commander, said the communications officer. No comms, no hails, no threats. Nothing. But it's not cloaked anymore. It doesn't need to be, Xelthar muttered. It knows we're afraid. A junior officer near the back raised his voice carefully. Sir, I looked up its ID. Valkyrie is a Terran stealth cruiser from the War of 47 Sigma. That was over 90 years ago. It was marked destroyed in battle. It shouldn't even exist. Xelthar turned slowly. Are you saying this ship is a ghost? I'm saying it shouldn't be flying at all, sir. Xelthar said nothing. His claws tapped lightly on the metal rail. Get me a link to Central Command, he said finally. A moment later, a hologram of High Warlord traffic flickered to life. The Vasteri leader's eyes narrowed. You called, Xelthar. A human ship has engaged and destroyed 3 cruisers. You allowed 1 Terran relic to destroy 3 of our vessels. Traffic growled. It's not just a relic. It's using unknown technology. Instant cloaking, advanced weapons, extreme speed. We've never seen anything like it. Traffic leaned forward, then destroy it. Use the fleet. I believe this ship came here for a reason. Xelthar said slowly. It wants to be seen, and it wants us to fear it. Traffic waved a hand. I don't care what it wants. Burn it from the stars. Xelthar nodded once. As you command. Back on the Valkyrie, Elise Work sat quietly. She watched as over 200 Vasteri ships shifted position and began to form an attack grid. They're preparing full-scale engagement, the AI said calmly. Weapon locks confirmed. Incoming missiles will arrive in 90 seconds. Time to full charge on the Singularity cannon. 35 seconds. Target the central ship, the one with the largest energy signature. That'll be the flagship. Yes, Commander. Target locked. Elise stared at the screen. Her ship hummed with rising energy. Outside, space lit up with incoming fire. Evasive Protocol Shadow 9, she said. The Valkyrie didn't just dodge. It disappeared again, then reappeared 30 kilometers to the left. Plasma beams missed entirely. Missiles exploded in empty space. On the Vasteri bridge, Xelthar shouted, "Track its shadow. Watch for its energy wake." But there was none. Then the stars around them changed. A deep humming sound echoed across nearby vessels. Lights flickered. The screen turned white. And then, everything turned black. A pulse from the Valkyrie's Singularity cannon slammed into the Vasteri flagship like a collapsing star. The shield held for a moment, then shattered. A shockwave rippled out, disabling 6 nearby ships. When the light faded, the Valkyrie floated calmly again. No damage. No retreat. Commander Xelthar struggled to his feet on the cracked bridge. Smoke filled the air. Sparks fell from the ceiling. What kind of weapon is that? One of the engineers crawled over. Not Vastari. Not Terran. That's not something humans were ever supposed to have. Xelthar looked at the broken command screen. A single human ship had crippled the heart of his fleet in less than a minute. He swallowed hard. This is not war, he said quietly. This is a warning. Back inside the Valkyrie, Elise looked down at an old photo taped beside her console. Two humans smiling, standing in front of a burned village. One of them wore a Vastari collar around his neck. The other was her brother. "I told you, Jace," she whispered. "I told you I'd come back." The screen lit up again. "New energy signatures detected," the AI said. "Warp drives. 14 new ships entering the system. More Vastari." "No," said the AI. "Different signatures. Unknown configuration. Unregistered IDs." Elise narrowed her eyes. "Then let's find out who else is watching." The stars were shifting again. The war had only just begun. Aliens saw a single human warship. What happened next shocked them. Part 4. The Weapon Beneath the Ice. The Valkyrie tore through the darkness of hyperspace, its engines humming like a creature on the hunt. Elise sat at the helm, her eyes locked on the digital map as stars warped around her. The AI's voice broke the silence. T-2 hours to Sigma Outpost 9. Location confirmed. Elise's fingers tapped on the console. She'd been to Sigma Outpost 9 before, but not in a long time. The place had been a secret Terran research facility, hidden away beneath the ice of a frozen moon. Most of the outpost's records had been wiped clean years ago, after the fall. But Elise remembered the whispers, the rumors. That was where they had built the first prototype of the Singularity Cannon, the same weapon that had just shattered a Vastari flagship. She had no intention of leaving the weapon behind, but the Korth Syndicate, the Vastari, and every other enemy out there. None of them knew what was hidden beneath the ice of Sigma Outpost 9. Elise was determined to make sure they never found out. On the Vastari flagship, Xelthar stood before his command screen, staring into the void. His fleet was scattered, crippled by a single human ship. He had never seen anything like it. No warning, no strategy, just a cold, brutal strike that left entire ships in ruin. "This is unacceptable," he muttered to himself. The Vastari were conquerors, not afraid of any enemy. But the humans, they had always been different. Even when they were at their weakest, they'd fought back. They'd won wars against entire fleets. And now, it seemed they had returned. His mind raced as he replayed the footage of the battle. The Valkyrie's technology was unlike anything he had encountered. That Singularity Cannon, it was a weapon of unimaginable power. But it was the ship's ability to disappear, to strike and vanish in the blink of an eye, that haunted him most. It was as if the Valkyrie was a ghost, a warship that should not have existed. He slammed his fist onto the control panel. "Prepare the fleet for pursuit. We're not losing them this time." But the fleet was no longer his concern. Across the galaxy, a darker force had taken notice of the Valkyrie's sudden reappearance. The Syndicate had made its own calculations, and their long-forgotten enemy had resurfaced. On Sigma Outpost 9, the Valkyrie descended toward the icy surface of the moon. The automated defenses recognized the ship, but they didn't dare fire. Not on the Valkyrie. Not after everything it had been through. Elise landed the ship near a massive hangar complex, hidden beneath layers of ice and rock. The facility's entrance was sealed, but Elise knew the way. Her footsteps echoed in the cold silence of the abandoned outpost as she made her way to the control room. The AI spoke again, its voice muted by the thick walls of the complex. "Warning. Unfamiliar signatures detected. Movement detected in Sector 12. Elise paused. "Who else is here?" "Unknown. Unknown ships." She didn't need to hear more. The Korth Syndicate had followed them. She could feel it in the air. "You'll need to hurry, Commander," the AI warned. "Enemy reinforcements will arrive in 25 minutes." Elisa's eyes flickered to the door ahead. A single access panel illuminated. "Too late," she whispered. "We don't have time to waste." She punched in the old access code. The doors opened with a hiss, revealing the facility's main chamber. Inside, long-forgotten technology lay dormant. Storage units stacked high with old weapons, crates of ammunition. But there, at the far end of the room, was the prize. A massive crystalline structure stood at the center. At its heart, a pulsating core of energy hummed faintly, surrounded by a complex array of cables and machinery. "The Artemis device," Elise murmured. "The weapon capable of mass destruction, if it could be fully activated." The technology was said to be more dangerous than any warhead in existence. It was the backup to the singularity cannon. One could bend time, space, and gravity to crush entire fleets. The other could tear apart entire planets. The Valkyrie's eye spoke again. "Warning. Korth fleet has entered the system. Arrival in 2 minutes." Elisa's mind raced. She didn't have much time. She accessed the terminal in front of her, her fingers flying over the keys. "Let's wake up the Artemis." A low rumble filled the air. The crystalline structure began to glow brighter, and the hum of energy grew louder. Elisa's fingers clenched around the console, but her voice was calm. "You're wasting your time. I'm not handing over the weapon." "We know you won't," Corinth said with a smirk, "but we're giving you a choice. Hand over the Valkyrie, and we'll leave your people alone. You can go back to your little corner of the galaxy and hide. Continue to survive as you always have. Or," he let the silence linger for a moment, letting the threat settle in, "or we wipe out every human in the galaxy. Every last one." Elise didn't flinch. She knew the Syndicate. They weren't bluffing. But neither was she. "Not today, Corinth," she said, voice steel strong. "I'll fight for every last human, every last breath. And I'll make sure you regret underestimating us." The transmission cut out. Silence followed. But Elise knew something the Syndicate didn't. She had a plan. She always did. The Valkyrie began its descent toward the abandoned station, the nebula swirling around it like a cloak. Inside, the old human military technology hummed to life, its power systems activating as the ship docked. Elise stepped off the ship, her boots crunching against the cold metal floor. The station was silent, its halls empty except for the echoes of the past. She was about to meet someone who could change everything. Her old friend, Dr. Kira Novak, had been one of the brightest minds in human engineering. She had vanished after the war, and no one knew where she had gone. Until now. Dr. Novak had worked on a prototype weapon, something even more powerful than the singularity cannon, a weapon capable of taking down entire fleets in a single strike. Elise had no choice but to find her, and she knew exactly where to look. Deep within the station, a door slid open to reveal a dark, cluttered lab. But Dr. Novak wasn't alone. She stood before a massive machine, its core glowing ominously. "Elise," Dr. Novak said softly, looking up from her work. "I knew you'd come. I've been waiting for you." Elisa's eyes scanned the lab, taking in the advanced technology and the mysterious weapon standing before them. "Is this it?" she asked, her voice quiet but filled with awe. Dr. Novak nodded. "The Vanguard Protocol. It's a prototype, but it's our last hope. If the Syndicate or the Vasteri get their hands on it, the entire galaxy will fall." Elise stepped closer. "I need it. The Valkyrie can't do this alone. We need more firepower. The Syndicate won't stop until they have everything." Dr. Novak hesitated, her eyes flickering with doubt. "But Elise, it's not just about power. The Vanguard Protocol, it's not just a weapon. It's a force that can reshape the very fabric of reality." Elisa's gaze hardened. "Then we use it. For humanity." The A's voice echoed in Elisa's earpiece. "Commander, The Korth fleet is inbound. They've already detected the station. You don't have much time. Elise turned back to Dr. Novak. We don't have time to hesitate. We fight now, or we die. The doctor nodded, her expression resolute. Then let's finish this. Outside, the vast Korth fleet loomed on the horizon, their ships descending like shadows. The Valkyrie, with its newfound ally, stood ready. And Elise, humanity's last hope, was ready to unleash the true power of the Vanguard Protocol. The galaxy would never be the same again.